Alright guys, today's video is a little different. A few days ago, I asked my community to share the one tip that actually helped them improve the most in Rivals. Not basic stuff like practice more, but real, actionable things they learned the hard way. I got over 20 aim-focused replies from players ranging from level 70 all the way to level 460, and today we are going through every single one of them. You're going to see their messages pop up on the screen, and I will break down what they said, why it works, and how you can apply it instantly. And at the end, I want you to comment how many of these tips you already knew, because some of these are really good. Also, make sure to join my Discord server if you want to participate in future videos like this one. Now, let's get into it. Before we begin, most of the background footage isn't mine. I asked you guys, my community, to share clips and gameplay that I can use in the background of my videos since I don't play the game that much, so thank you. The most common topic by far was sensitivity, and honestly, I am not surprised. Every shooter game has that moment where you realize, oh yeah, my sense is actually holding me back. Let me show you a few messages. Ash said the biggest improvement ever came from finally finding a sensitivity that felt normal. Not this sensitivity a pro uses, just something comfortable enough that he could control movement and aim at the same time, and that alone is already huge. A lot of players forget that comfort is a skill advantage. This person said changing their DPI genuinely changed the way they aimed, not sensitivity inside Rivals, mouse DPI, which is something most players never touch. Lower DPI equals more control, while higher DPI equals faster reactions or faster sensitivity, and everyone's balance is different. Me personally, I use 800 DPI, but I also use kinda lower sensitivity in Rivals. It's not extra slow, but it's not extra fast either, so it's something in between. Turning off aim assist and auto shoot, and that forcing them to rely on actual control instead of RNG tracking immediately improved their aim. All of these have something in common. None of them said train more. They said fix your sensitivity and DPI so your aim can actually improve. My takeaway, if your aim feels inconsistent, your settings are probably fighting against you. First things first, I need you to remember this. Finding the right sensitivity takes time. After watching this video, only change your sensitivity once, then stick with it for at least a few days. After that, you will know whether to make it faster or slower. Take another few days with your updated sensitivity and keep tweaking it weekly until you find what works best for you. I know it sounds like a lot, but trust me, this process will make a huge difference, and you will thank yourself when you see the improvement. Don't listen to people who say play high sense, it's better, or play low sense, it's better. Sensitivity is all personal preference and depends on the game. For example, I used extremely low sense in Valorant, like really low, but I used a much faster sense in COD style games, because they're more fast paced and require quicker mouse movement. I got used to both because I spent a lot of time practicing, adjusting, and finding what actually worked for me. If you want me to make a detailed video on how to find the right sensitivity, comment down below. A lot of players brought this up without actually calling it tracking, but that's what they were talking about. This person said practicing tracking targets helped their aim the most, just following movement patterns and doing it consciously. Spoon said jumping and timing your jumps actually makes your tracking smoother because your movement becomes rhythmic instead of random. Richard said understanding how enemies move made tracking way easier. This is low-key top-tier advice. Being able to read where someone will slide or jump next is basically aim assist for your brain, especially if you combine it with movement aiming, which is basically mirroring the enemy's movements and shooting without making any extra mouse adjustments. Neon mentioned learning how to match vertical and horizontal movement together helped their aim the most, and if you only track side to side, you lose half your duels. Tracking isn't like flick shots, but AR fights are 100% tracking based. Once you learn to keep your crosshair on someone for even half a second, you start winning fights you used to lose instantly. Tracking is one of the easiest and most satisfying aiming mechanics to learn. Once you figure out your sensitivity and can smoothly move your camera with a moving target, you will understand tracking in no time. The best way to practice is either through aim training or by hopping into arcade and focusing only on moving your camera crosshair with the enemy. Instead of shooting, just try to predict and follow their movement while keeping your crosshair on them. This helps you visually learn how players move and builds a strong foundation for tracking. After that, you can move on to actually shooting. The goal is to hit your targets using as little ammo as possible, not dumping 3 magazines just to get 1 kill. kill. The key is consistency, not spam reloading while trying to land shots. A few sniper mains replied, and their tips honestly deserved their own section. Gviaz said learning angles was more important than mechanics. That's a very sniper specific tip. Knowing where the peak favors you is basically free aim. Cat said two things. He uses zero zoom effect so he sees more of the screen, and quick scope timing is everything. Camera zoom effect is also a matter of preference. I personally run 3 instead of 0. The pros of running 0 zoom effect are that you can see more on the screen, which is a decent advantage, but the con of 0 zoom effect is that it requires more precise aim. What I mean by that is targets feel a lot smaller, which means your micro flicking and adjustments need to be way more precise compared to, let's say, 5 or even 7 zoom effects. On high zoom effect, you see bigger targets, which doesn't require as much precision as a 0 zoom effect. So keep that in mind before changing this. Both have their own benefits. This person said one simple thing: don't pick disadvantage. It sounds obvious, but most sniper duels are lost before the shot is even taken. If your angle is bad, your aim gets blamed, when it was really the position. At level 460, his perspective is perfect. Being unpredictable is what helped his aim the most. When you move unpredictably, you aim better because the enemy can't insta-trade you. People think aim is hand skill, but avoiding getting hit is half the job. Sniping isn't just skill, it's a discipline. People think it's all about sitting in the back and hitting headshots, but it's really not. It's a 50-50 situation when you snipe in the open. You either get lucky and hit one of those shots, or you get absolutely beamed before you even have time to take a second or third shot. It works like that with most weapons, but snipers leave you especially vulnerable since there's a delay before you can take another shot. If you don't hit headshots, you need 3 body shots to take the enemy down, or 4 or 5 if they pop a medkit. So taking your time before each shot is far better than just taking your chances and spamming. What you want to do is take 1 or 2 shots from one spot, move to another spot, do the same from there, and constantly reposition each time you do that. This allows you to stay unpredictable with your movement and positioning, while also giving you the advantage of taking the first shot. You also have to keep track of where the enemy is and when they reload or reposition, because based on that, you will know where to move and how. It's also important to play with cover, next to a wall, or anything really. That allows you to move out whenever you want without risking being too exposed. A bunch of players talked about settings affecting aim in ways most people don't think about. He said the best crosshair is invisible plus static. Not for everyone, but it works for him. And that's the point. Find what you see clearly. Some people prefer visible crosshairs, while others prefer smaller, barely visible ones. I have spent years playing shooter games, and I would have no problem playing without a crosshair since I can visually remember where the center of the screen is. If you have seen people play without crosshairs, it doesn't feel any different for them because they already know where it is. Probably the most honest tip in the whole thread: copying someone's settings will ruin your aim. And he's right, you're copying someone else's muscle memory, not their settings. I have been asked about my settings a lot, and even though I made a video covering them, I talked about how you can find your best settings with the help of that video, not to fully copy mine. Trust me, all those players and YouTubers who tell you to copy their settings so you can become good will not help you. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it doesn't work like that. This person gave some pretty good advice, and I'm sticking to it. Copying settings from others will just make things worse. Cat talks about camera zoom effect again, saying zero zoom is basically better FOV, which is true, but it has its own disadvantages too. We talked about that earlier in the video. Lower brightness on the crosshair equals better visibility. While this is true, lower visibility or smaller crosshairs can help you see better on the screen. However, some people might find more visible crosshairs much more useful if they have no previous experience with aiming or playing shooter games in general. Almost half the aim tips mentioned movement in some way, and it makes sense. Jump timing, smoother tracking, movement practice, more stable aim output, decision making and positioning made aiming easier. Less time spent panicking equals more time focusing on tracking. He said learning not to tunnel vision improved his aim. Basically, aim while moving, don't freeze when shooting. Movement and aim are connected. They aren't separate skills. Bad movement creates bad angles. Bad angles create bad aim. Aim training helps you master your aim, but it won't win you fights on its own. You also need to move better. think about positioning, make smart decisions, and pay attention to your actual movement. That makes you a harder target and helps you win most of your aiming duels. You won't always be better at aiming than your opponent, so the best way to beat them is to play smart and move better. Don't sleep on movement, it affects your aim in a lot of ways. We also talked about how helpful and important movement aiming really is. A few players didn't give mechanical tips, but their aim still improved because of mindset. He said his aim got better once he actually started trying instead of autopiloting. Simple but very real. Reviewing mistakes instead of rage quitting equals improved aim. That's crazy accurate. This person said changing how they open rounds helped their aim because they learned to shoot from different angles. These mindset players are the ones who actually climb the fastest. I made a video covering 3 bad toxic habits that many people in this game struggle with. I talked about how to avoid them, how to improve your mental game, and how to avoid losing fights because of a bad mentality. It's a 4-minute video and I really hope it helps because what you will hear there is something many people can relate to. So overall, here's the pattern I noticed. Most low-mid level players improved from sense plus DPI changes. Mid to high level players improved from movement to tracking. Sniper players improved from angles plus timing, and high level players improved from mindset plus discipline. So now I want to know, how many of these 21 tips did you already know? Comment your number below. There were a lot more answers that weren't related to aiming, which I will cover in future videos. I wanted this first video to focus on aiming since many people struggle with it, but I will talk more about movement, positioning, game sense, and other factors in my future videos. So if you already sent a message in my Discord server, don't worry, you will be included in the future videos. Join my Discord server if you want to participate in future videos like this one, and I will make more if you guys want them. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.